welcome back to my channel. So I'm here with the three lovely co-hosts of A Year in Mitford, and we are going to be discussing the first book in the series, At Home in Mitford. So I guess maybe you could each do a brief introduction of yourself. Angie, would you just like to tell us the name of your channel and yeah, just a little bit about yourself?
My name is Angie. My channel is Literary Labors. I've been doing BookTube for I think 2 years now, and I pretty much read everything except for literary fiction. It's not my favorite. I am a third grade teacher, and I live in Texas, and I am a single lady reading Mitford and really enjoying the very light romance.
Excellent, excellent. Chelsea, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Chelsea. My channel is Voyage of a Time Wanderer. I enjoy reading all kinds of books, primarily historical fiction, classics, African literature, and mysteries. And I live in Canada, in British Columbia, Canada. I'm in the Rocky Mountains. My town isn't quite as small as Mitford, but it's still, there was definitely some scenes of small town life that I was like, yeah, that that's realistic. So the town I live in has about 20,000 people. So significantly bigger than 1,000 people from Mitford, but compared to the other cities I lived in, it's definitely has that small town charm.
And Rainey.
Hello, I am Rainey. My channel is Rainy Day Reads, and I also live in a small-ish town, but it's not. I don't know the population, but it's more than 1,000. But same thing. It's small town life, and I really can appreciate the references to pretty much everybody knowing who you are, and just the camaraderie and also the gossip and all that stuff that goes with small town living. So I live in Pennsylvania, and like Western Pennsylvania. And I'm also a single lady, and I enjoy the light romance as well.
Very nice. So a special element that we are each coming with is that we've each made something out of the Mitford cookbook. So there are recipes that are referenced in each book. I think later on, I don't know if there's a recipe for every single book. But I guess I'll go first since I'm talking now. And I have made the company stew. Yeah, I don't know how like appetizing it looks like on screen, but it's got lamb, and it's going to be interesting because I just told my husband, call for boneless lamb shoulder, and he went grocery shopping for me. And if I had known they weren't going to have lamb shoulder, I think I would have picked pot roast. That's the thing about not going shopping for yourself. But lamb chops were procured because that was the only kind of lamb that they had. So we'll see if it's not super tough. I don't know. So yes, this is when Father Tim has a group of people over and he's hemming and hawing over what to make. He makes company stew. Yes. So who would like to tell us next about what they made?
I will. I made, let's see if I can pull this up. I have my fork here too. Let's see. I made Father Tim's Christmas morning, breakfast casserole. It's a very long name. But basically, I chose this because I love a breakfast casserole, and this has bread in it. And I shouldn't say I've never had a breakfast casserole with bread because they probably all do. But this has like white bread that just soaks up so it's more of like a souffle at the end of it. And I liked that idea. So it has cheese, pork sausage, bread, and mustard, dried mustard, and Worcestershire sauce, and milk, and onions. So I figured what could be bad about all of that, and cheese, of course. So I'm excited.
That's interesting. It has dried mustard in it.
Yeah, and I actually thought I had dried mustard, but I didn't. So I had mustard seeds. I don't know why I had that. I don't use that. So I just tried to pulverize them as much as I could. So then whenever I dumped the egg mixture in onto the bread, all the mustard kind of went into one place. So I had to kind of try to like mix it around.
I wonder if it'll be more like a bread pudding since it has bread.
It kind of looks that way.
Yeah, it
Oh.
does.
Yeah. So it seems very, to use a word that people don't like, moist. So I think, but I'm into that. So
People are very averse to the word moist, but I think it's very explanatory.
yeah,
Mhm.
you have to use that word sometimes. Like, what else would you use for that? I don't know. Spongy? I don't know if that's a better word. So let's see. Shall we try it as we're talking about it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So far, it smells good. Yes, I will be making this again.
Yeah.
Now I want to
probably
make it. It's nice because
Yeah.
it's gonna put like
No.
variety in what we're cooking. So this is very good. This stew is
Yeah.
very good. It didn't really have any salt in the recipe, so I had to salt it, but that's like so much better with too little salt than too much salt.
You can always add.
I'll go ahead and go next. I made
Okay.
Esther's orange marmalade cake, and I have a little slice here. So
Mm.
this is my slice. And I wanted to
Ooh.
really show off my little plate. I just found this at a thrift store the other day. So orange marmalade cake. It's supposed to be 3 layers, but I'm not a baker at all. And I think I might have added too much batter to the 2 first pans that I added the batter to. And so by the time I got to the third pan, there wasn't anything left. So I thought, let's just make it a 2-tier cake. So yeah.
That's easier anyway, right?
Yeah, it is easier to store too. Definitely can taste the orange flavor. And it's not very sweet. I'm surprised because the batter was pretty sweet, but this is not.
That's good.
Very good.
All right, Chelsea, what did you make?
My cornbread.
Oh, yum.
This is punies. I never knew while I was reading the book. I was like, is it punny? Puny? I think, and then I was listening to part of the audiobook, and I was like, it's puny.
Yeah.
Puny cornbread that she whips up every now and then for Father Tim when she's cleaning at his house. And I was super intrigued by this recipe because it isn't really like other cornbread I've made in that it has sour cream and creamed corn added in. And it also started out by warming pouring all the oil into the cooking pan and warming it in the oven, and then taking it out right before you want to cook, pouring the hot oil into the batter and mixing it up, and then pouring that back in, so it kind of like pre-greases your pan, and it was kind of like sizzling as I mixed it all up. So I'm like, I have no idea. I'm very curious because I normally eat my cornbread with honey. I usually do cornbread and honey, so I don't know if that's going to work very well with this, but I also have chili for supper tonight. So if it's not a sweet cornbread, it'll go well with chili. So I have my little slice here.
Mm.
Let's see.
I'm still stuffing my face, so I can't say that looks good.
That's good. Definitely not as sweet as other cornbread I've made.
See, is it dry or is it more of a moist?
Oh, it's super moist. Yeah.
We're just gonna keep saying that word now, and everybody's gonna hate us.
Yeah, it's very it did grow quite a bit, because that was the other thing I was concerned. It called for self-raising flour and cornmeal, and I didn't have self-raising flour or cornmeal, so I had to just look up the substitution online, and I was like, oh, I hope it doesn't stay super flat. But it did. Well, I'm gonna add some honey. It's my favorite way to eat cornbread.
I don't know if I've ever had cornbread with honey. I'll have to try that.
Well, that used to be like one of my go-to breakfasts in university. I had like a single mug cornbread recipe back when like mug brownies and stuff were super popular. I had a mug cornbread recipe, and I'd have cornbread and honey, and then take it to go on the bus. Eating cornbread on the bus.
I wonder if part of the reason why in Southern cornbread, typically it's very savory is because you always have it with iced tea, like very sweet iced tea.
Oh.
It's good. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, everybody's was a success.
Yes. Yeah. And the meat isn't super tough. I was kind of worried. I was like cutting it up in advance and I was like, I don't know about this.
I feel like usually in a stew that helps. You know, from being too. I better stop eating or I won't be able to talk.
So I was going into this, I was like, all right, I've like started this project of a year in Mitford and I'm going to be rereading the book. What am I going to think of it? And I ended up liking it a lot more than the first time. And I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars the first time, but I really liked it this time. And either it was, you know, it gets better the second time you read it, or I read most of it as an audiobook. And when I listened to a sample, I didn't love his voice. And I've realized I'm biased. Like I like female audiobook narrators more.
Okay.
Maybe because I listen to more, I don't know what it is, but I found that I really ended up liking his voice. I think it's that I couldn't tell at first whether it was a like forced Southern accent or a genuine one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was worried if it was like a fake one, I would just, you know, annoy me the whole time. Yeah, I just found the rhythm of it to be really calming. It is, you do have to be in a more like, I feel like relaxed reading frame of mind to read it because it doesn't zip along. It has this kind of really leisurely pace to it. But I loved that there was such a big group of characters. I thought that made it really fun. You got to get to know all of these different characters. And since it's the beginning of a series, it's cool to think about, you know, going along with them the whole time. And seeing like, I bet we're going to see Dooley grow up.
Yeah.
Which will be really interesting. Yeah, so I felt like it really tugged on my heartstrings, but it didn't feel sickeningly sweet. It felt very kind of true to life because it did have some sad things that happened in it. Yeah, so I had a really great experience reading it.
I did too. I had never read it before. This was my first time, and it's just like exactly what I needed at the beginning of the year. It was just like a nice, cozy comfort read, and we talked about that it was a Christian series, which it is, but I didn't feel like it was like really heavy-handed. You know, it just seemed natural. I mean, like some of the things with like Father Tim and Barnabas and how he can like shout scriptures and Barnabas just like lays down. That was funny and like kind of maybe, well, over the top, but in a funny way, like it was meant to be, you know. So I didn't feel like it was ever like, you know, scripture will, you know, has this miracle effect or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed all the character. I mean, I didn't like all of the characters, but I enjoyed, you know, getting to know all of the characters. Some of the characters were annoying, but I feel like in every town there are annoying people. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot too, and I'm excited to get to the next book. So it was a good first experience.
Excellent.
Yeah, for some reason, I found it a bit like dense. And I don't know if it's because I was reading 6 or 7 books at the same time. So I was trying to make room for all of the books, you know, in the evening. But I could only get through 2 chapters a day, but I was enjoying it. And it felt sort of like a respite to come home, you know, and fall into the lives of the Mitford residents. So I found that really comforting. But yeah, I could only read about 2 chapters a day, so it did take me a couple of weeks to read. And I was surprised um, that I liked the large cast of characters, because normally I get very confused when there's a lot of characters to keep up with. But this, for some reason, was really easy to keep up with who was who. Um, and yeah, the one thing that I guess bothered me a little was I don't remember her name now. Rose? Is it Miss Rose? The one whose brother they live in the big house. She and her husband.
Oh,
live in the
yes.
big house. Was it Rose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I kind of felt she was a little bit of a caricature of like a Southern person. You know and I know part
Oh,
of
Miss
it was
Lady?
that she had maybe some mental health issues. But the dressing up in really crazy outfits kind of
Mhm.
felt a little like a Southern stereotype caricature that is always featured in every Southern book.
Mhm.
But I did like her.
Yeah, I guess I interpreted it as her dementia. Like she did that because of her dementia. I know what you mean because people do have these like very caricatured stereotypes they do, but I think that's why maybe it didn't bother me, as I was just like, oh, she's kind of losing her
Yeah.
mind. So, yes. Chelsea, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it as well, especially once I switched to audiobook. I was reading the first few chapters and I find there was a lot of dialect, I guess, that just sounds more natural when it's being read by someone
Okay.
who knows how to use those words and how to pronounce everything. It really reminded me of Alexander McCall Smith's 44 Scotland Street series, in that it's
Oh,
kind of like these little vignettes. Like sometimes even within the chapter, you just switch and there's like half a page of a vignette of something else going on. I could see that I was even like wondering if it did start off as being serialized, just because it did remind me so much of that series, where kind of each chapter has its own little subplot kind of. I mean, there's overarching plots through the whole book, but there's also like little stories within each chapter that get resolved. I did find like the first couple chapters, I'm not used to reading such like relaxing books, and I kept thinking something bad was gonna happen, or like, oh, they'll be visiting the vet, and they'll be like, oh, they have to go out in the night to like deliver this calf. I'm like, oh no, like what's gonna happen to them out in the night alone? I'm like, oh, they just delivered the calf. Like that's it. It's just a sweet book. And then when they got with them, I don't know if are we doing spoilers?
I think we can. What do we think?
I think we can, because I feel like if you're going to watch this, you probably read along with us.
That's what I kind of think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're doing
When
spoilers.
the dog got stolen, I was like not expecting something bad to happen. It like totally took me aback. I was like, every other time he's gone for a walk in like the first 7 chapters, I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then I'm just like peacefully enjoying this book, and all of a sudden he gets like mugged and his dog's stolen. And
There's all of a sudden like drug lords involved in this book. That's like, what?
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I wasn't expecting that.
I'm like, oh, he's going for a nice simple walk with his dog, and then it's like he gets smashed over the head, and his dog gets like drug into the car. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen to the dog? Thank goodness it came back at the end, right? Like I couldn't handle it thinking of this dog like alone out in the woods with these.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it. It also, the whole Dooley subplot kind of reminded me of Davy and Dora from the later books in the Anna Green Gables series.
Yes.
He was totally Davy.
Mhm.
Yes. It just cracked me up, his name Dooley. Like even last year when I read the physical copy, just the whole time I could hear them saying Dooley. Like it sounds so Southern. I like that subplot, especially because he was a really difficult kid to live with.
Mhm.
And like you came to love him, but I like that it didn't show like it's really easy to adopt a kid. Like, no, it's not. This kid has a big baggage. Like his dad's nowhere to be found. His mom got rid of him. So I really like that we saw the real pain there.
Yeah.
And how Father Tim he was really agonizing over what's the line between how much should I expect of him and how much grace should I give him. I just thought that seemed like, to me, it seemed so real that I'm wondering, like, did Jan Karen know a family well that, took in a kid like this?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to like read a biography of hers or an interview to see like, did she have adoption or fostering in her family that she would have known about that? You know, 'cause I've known some bad situations like that too, that it's just for both parties, it's just really sometimes it can be too much, you know. And
Yes.
sometimes it doesn't work out, and it's not like the happy adoption stories that everybody
Yes.
believes.
Oh, I really was I thought it was such a moving story to hear Miss Sadie tell her love story.
Mhm.
Um
Really liked Miss Sadie. She was my favorite.
yes. Yeah, and I loved how he prayed with her at the end, like if she has any bitterness still from this situation, I pray that it would that she would be given peace, something like that.
Mhm.
I thought it was really touching.
Yeah. That was the part about the Christian element to it that I thought was just very natural. And maybe because it was a pastor. Oh, bless you.
I was trying to do it silently.
um, maybe because it was a pastor, it flowed more naturally and didn't seem like just these random townspeople were talking about God all the time. But or maybe because it was Southern, it seemed more natural. I don't know, but yeah, just it didn't like pop up constantly. You know, it was at a good moment for praying to happen. You know, and to talk about God, it was when it was appropriate. You know, so I liked that aspect of it.
Mine compared to I don't usually read a lot of Christian fiction, but when I do, sometimes it like they just kind of breeze over it. Like it'll just be like, and then they prayed, and then like the story continues or something, and you're kind of like it's just like kind of a one-liner, like a couple times sprinkled throughout. They'll be like, as he was reading his Bible, he realized this. Because this book actually like kind of had more depth to it when they would like actually like explain people's thought processes or like actually go through the prayer or have like little Bible verses or hymns like come into people's minds throughout the day just kind of normally. Like it did feel really like a normal.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. I liked at the beginning when he opened the letter from the bishop, who was like a friend of his. And it kind of set the tone, I thought, because it was a real concern that he was having and asking about like his fatigue from trying to do all these things as a pastor and feeling like he shouldn't feel that way. And this bishop friend of his was like, no, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to be tired. But then he gave him like practical solutions to it, and basically told him like, you can't be everything to everybody all the time. Like you need time to regroup too. So, and it took him all of the book, I feel like, to figure that out.
Yeah, I thought I kept thinking of the term I've heard, emotional labor. So like just the work of caring for people. And the two the two like first candidates that come to mind are mothers, specifically of like young children and pastors. And it is this real intangible, like, what did you do today? Like, well, I kept my kids alive again. Like, or like, what did you do today? Well, I met with some people who were having some problems, that's like what I did. I don't have a chart for you of like the numbers that I brought into the company.
Right.
It's a very different kind of thing. And I did feel a lot of tension as like he's pre-diabetic and he keeps not dealing with it. And these Southern women who keep making these amazing, very tempting desserts and dropping them off at his house. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you need a wife or you just need to take better care of yourself. This is really, really, you are doing a bad job at taking care of yourself. And I really appreciated Puny, who like, she's really into all of the decadent Southern cooking, but she went out of her way to try to make meals that he could have. But ironically, it came up somehow type 2 diabetes came up, and my husband's like, but you can reverse it. So I still have hope for Father Tim that I think people often actually that intermittent fast are able to reverse type 2 diabetes. So
Yeah.
I just kept thinking, like when he was eating, oh, am I muted? There was one
Nope,
point where he was, where I think Puny made him some tuna on like low carb bread or something like that. And I was thinking, no, paleo, Whole30. You don't have to eat these tasteless, bland foods. Whole30 is the way to go.
no,
I
I
guess
was
before Whole30.
Yeah.
yes, because I wanted to look what is the publication date.
I think it was 1994.
Yeah, that's very like people were not thinking that. Although actually Atkins diet, which is like kind of the next step over, which is low carb, you could have benefited from that at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was still back then. It was still low fat, no fat, light foods that were really not actually good for you overall.
Yes. Yeah. And people also thinking of fat and sugar as the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stressed for him though.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that it came to a head the way it did. I was not expecting that either. So I thought this was going to be, everything was going to be lovely and pretty, and it kind of felt that way. It had that vibe, I think, that very, comforting vibe. So when those bad things did happen, I was taken aback because I was not expecting that to happen. So when he ends up sick in his bed alone,
I know. I was like, when he started like passing out, and I'm like, nobody's there. What's gonna happen to Father Tim?
I really loved the character of Cynthia. I loved how comfortable she was in her own skin, and how, like when they went over to Uncle Billy and Miss Rose, how she went into the room with her, like the children's playroom, and found his old drawings, which was really cool. And I loved how she wrote children's books with animals as the protagonist. That to me is just like, it doesn't get more charming than that. Yeah, she is. She's like a Mitford version of Beatrix Potter.
Yep.
I was very frustrated on her behalf how indecisive Tim was.
Yes.
He just kept being like, I need more time. I'm like, you're 60. Like, this one's perfect. What are you like? You'll figure it out. She knows it's not like she's going in not knowing that you're a pastor. Like one of my friend's moms, this is so funny. Her dad was a pastor. And I was asking the mom, like, oh, did you know, like, did you want to be a pastor's wife? And she's like, well, when we got married, my husband was an atheist. So no, I didn't think that was going to be part of the plan. I feel like he's just over analyzing everything. And like, she knows she's chill. Like, she's a big girl. And if you need to go like to meetings, she'll be okay painting at home on her own. Like, I feel like she had some things going and she could be okay with him having a busy life.
Yeah.
I do wonder.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Rainey.
Oh no, I was just gonna say she wasn't like a young spring chicken either. So she lived on her own all this time. I think she can handle if you need to go to a meeting.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they're going to hit on his backstory later on, because I am curious why he is still single, never married. It does remind me of like the church that I used to attend. There were the pastor and the associate pastor were both single, and there were ladies who were just like, vying for their attention, trying to get themselves married, and they were just like, no, not interested. And so it does make me wonder why. I mean, is it just, do they feel like it's just not the time? Is that how Father Tim was? He just, it was just not the right time, not the right woman. What was it? Why is he still single?
When I was a freshman in college, I had a guy friend who was in the pre-pastoral program, whatever. And he was acting as though he was interested in me. So like I got interested in him, I guess, because I was a freshman and he was acting like he was into me. So I was like, okay, we'll give this a try. Well, then he never like actually asked me out. And then he came to me apparently he thought I was getting too into him, because he said to me one day, Rainey, I can't really think about dating right now because I feel like dating would pull me away from God.
Mm.
And I'm like, so you're saying that I would pull you away from God and that I couldn't handle you, putting God first. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then he later told me that he didn't think I would make a good pastor's wife. So, I mean, okay, fine.
Hey, thanks. Glad we had this talk.
Yeah, thanks.
That was your define the relationship talk.
Yeah, I guess that I wasn't really even sure if we had a relationship.
Well, so I guess not about that guy, but about Father Tim.
Yes.
I thought, do you know how it talks about how the bishop recommended, like, talk to him when he was dating that one woman, like 20 years before or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into that more.
Yeah, so I think it'll get into that. I think from that, it made it sound like he wasn't sure if she would be a good fit to be a pastor's wife, because it is like a very, well, I think it's a very like extroverted life for one thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's like definitely it's a calling you're asked more of. So I do know the one that's titled Home to Holly Springs. I think somebody commented when I announced that we were doing this that's like about his childhood and things. So maybe it would go up into, seminary years, but also we'll hear more about his dad. That was something that it was really, I think that needs to be unpacked more. If you have a really challenging relationship with either parent, I think that really impacts you as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like he was really contemplating that as he was becoming this father figure for Dooley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really liked his relationship with Dooley. I thought that was I didn't particularly enjoy Dooley. I found him very irritating.
And crass.
Yes. Yeah. Which, I mean, in an adult doesn't really bother me, but in a 10-year-old, it definitely does. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like this poor 60-year-old man, and good job for him, because I wouldn't be able to handle it. Oh.
Yeah, I think I would find my patience very tested if I had a Dooley living with me.
Yeah. But hearing his backstory, it did make me like sympathize with him. I still didn't like him, but I sympathize. I think Angie and I talked about that. We were like, do you find him to be really irritating?
Yes, yeah, I found him a little annoying, especially being a I mean, I feel bad saying this because I am a teacher, and teachers should love all children, right? But yeah, he annoyed me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I am dealing with my own behavior issues at school. I don't know. And I was trying to be more like Father Tim. Like when dealing with my behavior issue, I'd be like, Angie, think of Father Tim. Think of Father Tim. Be Father Tim. And it is so difficult. Yeah.
What would Father Tim do?
What would Father Tim do in this situation?
We need bracelets.
I liked in the back of the book, one of the questions says, Dooley appears on the scene untamed and uninvited. He wants to use the bathroom first thing, except he puts it very differently.
Yeah.
It says, what is it that makes Father Tim and Dooley aware that they need each other? How does Dooley contribute to Father Tim's life? And have you had Dooleys in your own life?
Angie certainly has.
Well, I do think part of it, like, have you had Dooleys in your own life? I do think their personalities kind of butt heads. And I do feel like my son Peter's personalities, he is so like tightly wound and just like straight laced. And he like, oh, Arthur just knows precisely, like Peter will be like, it's Tuesday. And Arthur will be like, no, it's not Tuesday. And then it'll be like, it is Tuesday. And I'm like, Peter, you're doing exactly what he wants you to do. Like, don't play his game. but he just like he takes that bait just so Arthur just like flops it down and he picks it right up. So I do think though it is kind of makes you to be more flexible and more patient. Like I feel like Father Tim definitely grew in patience throughout the book. But I thought it was really sweet towards the end how once Barnabas had been taken and Dooley was at the farm, he was like, this house is so quiet. How did I ever live here without a dog and without Dooley? So kind of, I guess, some companionship because he ended up spending Christmas Day with him. I thought that was weird that Father Tim like wouldn't invite some parishioners at least. Like if he has to be there for the service, the Christmas service and can't travel, that he wouldn't like, we don't know about his extended family. Like, is his mother still living? Like, is he on good terms with her or like a cousin or a sibling? We don't really know. But if you're not going to have family, then like just invite some parishioners, not a huge group, but just so you aren't by yourself on Christmas.
Yeah. Although I wonder because he did have that dinner party and he did say like, I feel like I shouldn't be inviting everybody, but I can't do that, you know? So maybe that's kind of the thing. Like he didn't want to just invite certain people, but I feel like at least he could have seen Miss Sadie because she was alone.
Yeah, I did enjoy that dinner party. That was one of my favorite scenes, I think.
Yes. Yeah, getting to see, because a lot of it is him visiting different people. And I really like that. Having several, you know, a group of people over was really, really fun and kind of on his home turf.
Yeah. And just the way he prepared for it too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, seeing how, you know, the very meticulous about the details and what he was going to serve. And it's not something that you normally read about when you're reading about male characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But
yeah, that's true. He was very domestic, even though like everybody like you need a housekeeper, you need somebody to take care of you, but he showed that he can do it. You know, just it's almost like his parishioners were just overly worried about him, except apparently not because they gave him a bunch of food that he can't eat.
Well, I do think though having Cutie come like that helped with the everyday. I think he was able to pull off the dinner party, but I do think, you know, since he was working full time, and okay, can we talk about how little sleep this man got throughout the book? It would talk about like he rolled into bed at 12 and then he would get up at 5. Like set your alarm for later than usual if you get into bed at midnight.
I know, it's like you can make your own schedule. You're a pastor. Just tell him you're going to come instead of 6.
Ridiculous. So then it says, which characters did you dislike at first, only later to come to appreciate or at least understand them? What characters in the book react that way to someone new? So I guess, I think overall, I would say I liked Dooley. I kind of like the like stereotype, like naughty child character, as long as they have some things that will make you fun of them. But I am curious, were there any characters that you didn't like or that grew on you?
yeah, I think Dooley, like I said, Dooley irritated me a little. And I liked him a little more by the end, but I think I liked every single character. I don't think there was one that really stood out as annoying or, you know, having bad intentions, which is usually when I don't like a character, it's usually because of their intentions or you know, their bad choices. When they make bad choices. But I think I liked every single character except for the drug lords guys. But otherwise, yeah, I like them all.
I would say Dooley too, but also is it what I'm forgetting her name, Emma? Is that her name?
The secretary.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was Emma or something else, but at first I really liked her, and then I didn't like her as much. Because she just kind of she was bossy, but like at the very, very beginning, she didn't really seem as bossy. She just seemed like a nice lady, and then she got really bossy and kind of crabby, and then I could see where Father Tim kept saying about, you know, your sunny disposition, you know, that kind of thing. But at first I was like, why is he saying that? She seems fine. And then she would get a lot worse. And I was like, you're the secretary. Shut up.
Yeah.
But then by the end of it, I liked her too. But
Yeah, she was really, and how she would like try to bait him, like, oh, I saw Cynthia like at the grocery store, and he'd be like, oh, did you? And
Yeah.
then he would just leave it like that and just make her do all the work.
I
Yeah.
guess I kind of saw their relationship as more like a sister brother. They got along like siblings, where they're just teasing each other and kind of goading each other.
Mhm. Yeah, once I got used to that, I was like, I liked her better, you know. But at first I was like, he's your employer. You should be a little bit more respectful.
Yeah. I think my guess is she's worked for him for a long time.
Yeah.
So maybe, like Angie said, maybe it's more like sister brother.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in my job, we are not like terribly professional with each other. Like we do act like that too. but like I don't go into my boss and like tell him how he should live his life.
I would
Chelsea,
agree with Angie that there isn't really any characters that I like disliked from the beginning. I found at the beginning I thought Miss Sadie was going to be kind of cliche, like this like old rich lady who's just like bequeathing her goods, and then as we got to know her backstory, I definitely got a lot more sympathetic, and she got a lot more well-rounded. At the beginning, she was kind of just, I don't know, I saw her as a bit of a stereotype character, and then once we had those couple chapters where she was explaining her story, it definitely like oh, I actually really like her, and now I'm so curious to know what's going to happen. Like, is she going to find out about this connection with Olivia in future books? Like, I hope that thread is continued, because I'm like very invested in those two. Olivia too, at the beginning, I don't know if all of you have read The Blue Castle by Lucy Maud Montgomery.
No.
I was like, is this going to be the Blue Castle?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
I found that storyline I did find frustrating at times, the way her and Father Tim were keeping the information from Poofy. I was like, just tell him and let him make his own decisions. Like, he's sitting here heartbroken trying to like woo her over with all these roses, and they both like each other, and they're just like not talking about why she feels like she's not in a place in life, or she's worried about hurting him. And I'm like, just have a conversation. Stop being like, oh, tell him after Christmas. We'll do this, we'll do that. I'm like, stop. Everyone needs to just talk. Like,
it felt very much like a
castle, and it didn't.
yes. It felt very much like a Victorian novel with the like withholding of information.
Yes.
You could just have a conversation.
Like, so hard to see you like roping around town for like 4 chapters, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really should just
He's still hurt and confused.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I was waiting for her to have a bad ending. I wasn't hopeful for
I guess the kind of the like cynic in me felt a little bit like, how realistic was it that she got a heart transplant all the way across the country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had like the whole subplot in my mind where Dooley's grandfather was going to pass away but be the heart transplant match, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so sad, but it's all going to tie together.
And she'll be bonded with Dooley.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like the grandfather's story, unless I've forgotten, because I did read the last chapters kind of quickly, didn't really wrap up. Like,
yeah, I don't remember it wrapping up either.
It's like, I think it's kind of weird how they're being ambiguous about, like, you are officially like Dooley's, guardian. Like, I guess he's like dealing with some things, and he's really an old grump. Like, it made me really upset how mean he was to his nurse.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you're Chelsea. I also felt like it didn't feel tied up. So maybe in the next book, he'll kind of say like officially, like, I can't take care of Dooley. Can you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and he
Um,
was being a bad patient deliberately, right? Like he
mhm.
urinated on whatever it is, the sheets or the bed on purpose. I didn't understand that because he seemed like, yeah, I know, and maybe it's being elderly and being in a situation where you don't have control of, your choices, your life. And maybe that's where, he was frustrated. Maybe he was frustrated about that, but it just seemed like he'd been pleasant, a pretty pleasant guy during the first half of the story. And then he goes to live with that woman. And it just seemed like his whole character kind of changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Well,
almost makes me wonder if whatever sickness he had, which I don't remember what happened, but
I thought
kind
it was
of,
pneumonia.
oh, yeah, okay. It kind of made me think at first that maybe whatever he had kind of messed with his reasoning skills or
Well,
something.
that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if maybe it's going to, and I don't know how big his role will be in the upcoming books, but I'm wondering
Mhm.
if maybe there may be like a dementia
Yeah,
storyline.
yeah.
yeah.
Which
Yeah. Because like I'm thinking about my grandfather had dementia and he was like the nicest man ever. He was like his whole adult life, he was a deacon in the church and like people really looked up to him. And then this is so like, it's like funny, but also sad because it was so out of character for him. At the assisted living that he was at, this one guy said something to him that was not rude, like it just triggered my grandfather somehow. And he stood up and he punched him. And this is like, so like, so he like never lost his temper with my dad when my dad was a kid. So it's so out of character. So I that's interesting, Angie. I hadn't thought about that, but that would seem just so that's like just really malicious to like
Right.
purposefully be somewhere that you're not supposed to. Okay, I have to say, Miss Sadie's father, like, I'm sorry, but like he did not deserve to have that nursing home named after him. I thought
no.
it was going to be like the Willard nursing home, like after the guy who died. He loved her and he like asked for forgiveness for one stupid little like social nicety error that he made. And then he died on the battlefield's a hero. And yet her father, who like let somebody else take the blame for the church fire,
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, well,
that whole
he
building
was
named after him.
definitely not a good guy. Not enough, at least from what the picture we got of him. He was not an upstanding, man of integrity to forbid his
Mhm.
daughter from marrying, this man because of his like Arion from Book Zealot said his ego was was hurt. That's all it was. His ego was hurt. And then
mhm.
yeah,
Yes.
the whole incident with the church fire, like this is not a good guy. I wish Sadie had stood her ground. Miss Sadie had stood her ground and, uh, you know,
Yeah.
married Willard and definitely not named the nursing home after.
I
Yeah,
feel
he doesn't deserve it.
like if I was Father Tim and I was told that information, I'd be like, all right, sorry, Miss Sadie, I'm gonna have to boycott that name.
Yes.
Maybe they'll rename it later.
Maybe they will.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that'd be nice.
Yeah, I thought it just seemed extra malicious that he like cried in front of them and was like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna meet with him.
Yes.
And then he like laid into him. It was
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was almost manipulative. It almost felt like a manipulation.
Hmm.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Um, I liked the next question says priests seldom have people they can confide in. Who are Father Tim's confidants? What secrets does he entrust to them? What role does prayer play in giving Father Tim a chance to truly vent his feelings? I feel like he basically has the bishop.
Yeah. That feels like the biggest one he has. I can't even really think of anybody else that he talks to. Hockey maybe? But
Yeah.
About
I
his
feel like,
health, he does.
yeah.
What about the couple with the farm? I don't remember their name.
Oh, yeah. Why can't I remember their names?
I
Is
can't
it like
either.
Maggie, Meg, Marge, and
Oh,
Henry maybe?
Oh,
how?
yeah.
The
Mm,
couple who take Dooley for a while he's I don't know. Dooley goes to live with them for a little bit and she's pregnant. She has a little girl.
I think
They've
yeah,
got
it's
the
like
horse
I
farm.
want to say it's Hal, Hal.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
for some reason it's an H name is popping
Yeah.
up in my head.
There was like a couple H names though that I was getting, like it was like Hal and Hooply and there's like, I was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, it's a weird name, but in the audiobook they had Hoppy. And yeah, I think it's Hal and somebody for that on the farm.
There's also the other minister that at the end of the book steps in to take over with his parishioners. And I thought, like, kind of in the middle of the book when he was saying you can't be afraid to take rest, like you're not being brave by like pushing through this when it's actually going to have a negative impact on yourself and on your parishioners eventually. So that I think is one of his confidants, that because they have similar roles in the community, like they really understood each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. Does seem like somebody who's kind of on a like equal playing field as he is. Yeah, like you're not don't be a hero by turning yourself type 2 diabetic. I was like, don't eat the cake. Don't do it. Don't do it.
When Emma opens the drawer and she's got like this whole feast inside of her drawer for lunch. I was like, oh
Oh,
no.
the little Debbie's.
Yes.
Oh, I do love a little Debbie. Oh,
Okay.
what's that?
What is a little Debbie?
They're little snack cakes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they are
The
full
brand
of
is
preservatives.
Little Debbie, right?
What's that?
Is the brand Little Debbie?
Yes.
Yeah. And they have a variety of
Oh yes. Yes, they're oatmeal cream pies, which some of us who've seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids would know what oatmeal cream pies look because they eat that in the yard in that movie. And then my personal favorite are zebra cakes, which are just like white cake, white icing, but it's like cream in between a couple layers and then white icing on the outside, and it's lightly salted on the outside. It's total junk food and I totally love it. And then there are fudge rounds, which are like chocolate cream in the middle and chocolate cake. Yeah, now I want some Little Debbie's. That's what I should have brought.
Are Swiss rolls Little Debbie?
Swiss rolls are Little Debbie, and let me tell you, my husband and I have some fierce debates. He's like, Swiss rolls are the best, and I'm like, no, wrong answer.
I love Swiss rolls. I'm with your husband.
He really likes a Swiss roll. Yeah, so they are like, that's interesting. I'm curious, like what regions of the US, because I know once we moved from Mississippi to Pennsylvania, like Little Debbie's were the only like snack cakes. And up here, Tasty Cake is another brand that's popular, but you can still find Little Debbie's.
We have Hostess where we live. So they also have their version of Swiss rolls called a ho-ho. And I love those as well. Basically all the Swiss rolls all the time.
And also, doesn't Hostess have the snowballs?
Oh, yes.
I've never actually had a snowball.
They're not my favorite, but I've had them. I like anything that's chocolate.
Oh, and okay, iconic one. Hostess also does Twinkies.
Oh, yes.
I feel like that's the only one I'm gonna have to check now and see if we have like a variety of snack cakes. I feel like Twinkies are the only one that I've ever seen or tasted, but maybe I'm just not looking in that section of the cookie aisle.
That's probably
one thing.
You could do a taste test video and you could title it like Canadian tries American snack cakes.
Yeah, maybe we should send Chelsea a care package with different American snacks.
yes.
And
Good
Chelsea,
idea.
send me some ketchup potato chips.
Oh, yeah.
I love ketchup potato chips. They're
Yeah.
not available anywhere in my area.
Oh.
And real Smarties. We all know real Smarties are like, Canadian Smarties are superior candy that you guys don't have.
Wait. Why are they called real Smarties?
You guys have Smarties that are just those little sugar capsules. And we have Smarties that are like a superior M&M. They're chocolate, a candy-coated chocolate.
So it's like better chocolate than M&M chocolate?
They're just a better M&M. That's like, it's a big debate if M&Ms and Smarties are better, but Smarties are better.
Okay, if I send you some Little Debbie's, I want some Smarties then.
For sure. They're delicious. They're bigger than M&Ms. So you have like more of that candy coating. There was so much food in the books though. Like literally like
Yes.
every second page they're just describing this all these meals. It makes me want to try more and more from the cookbook. I'm like, oh, I want to try that. Like the squash casserole sounded so good. And
I got the book from the library, and now I'm kind of like, I need my own copy. I might have to try to buy it somewhere.
I was
I
taking pictures just like before I returned it to the library, and I'm like, oh, I'll just take a picture of like the couple of recipes I'm gonna want to do. And I'm like, every page, like click. Maybe I just need to buy that.
I bet if you wanted like if you wanted your own copy, Rainey, I bet like a used book would be pretty.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll just have to. I didn't really look because I saw my library had it.
Mhm.
Now I figured, okay, but now I'm like, no, I want my own.
Well, I looked up on Goodreads for A Light in the Window is the name of the next book. And it doesn't give like much of a synopsis at all. So
No.
I think it's just more of like daily life in Mitford, which I'm on board for. So I'll be curious. I liked how this went a whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonder that they all kind of cover a whole year.
Yeah. So I guess that
Like the best series. Goes a whole
yeah,
year.
you're right. They do. Because this was long. I mean, I guess it's not that long. I feel like she just packed a lot in this. It's 400 pages. I mean, for a newer book, I feel like most of them are around 300. So maybe it is a little bit longer. I don't know.
The copy's like little, but it's 569.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
like a little picture.
Yeah.
I'm
I felt
curious if we'll
chapters.
just pick up like right where, like, are we gonna now follow along with him on this like retreat visiting his friends in Ireland?
Mhm.
Are we gonna like get his thought process like as he's thinking about whether he wants to start this relationship or not, or if we're gonna just like jump back into him being back in Mitford, like
Yeah, I'm curious.
all those
Yeah.
things have been resolved, or if we're
Yeah.
gonna do more of that. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I hope we do follow him to Ireland. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Maybe we'll get some Irish food in the next one. I didn't.
Ooh,
Oh.
too bad
I
it's
didn't-
not March.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We gotta wait.
Put it on hold.
Yeah, I have a seasonal cooker.
Yeah, that is the trouble when you read books like this because it covers all the seasons. So if you want to do something seasonal, you're like, I don't know, there's all of the seasons in it. Except I think might be the 6th one in it is like just a Christmas book. So we'll be having like Christmas in June or July.
Yeah, that's all right. If it was July, that's but
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. But I think it's actually like June that we're reading that one because I saw that too, and I was like, it's just 1 month too early.
I think so. Yes. So you can look for I'm putting this up, on the last day of January. And so the next one will be up on the last day of February, and we'll figure out whose channel that is going to be on, and we'll let you know. But you should just be subscribed to all our channels so you won't miss it. So thank you, ladies. This was such a treat, and I'm so glad it wasn't just this month.
Yeah, I'm really excited to go through the rest of them. It's a good series so far.
Yeah.
I was relieved that I enjoyed it. Like, I hadn't read any of them. I was like, oh, what if I don't like the first book? And then
Yeah.
That was my
five-star
fear too.
Yeah.
I like that gentle fiction. Like I like Thrush Green, but I was worried that this might be a little dull. So I was really
A little
happy.
too sleepy.
Yes. That's
Yes.
the word.
Yes. Well, and I should have said, because I know last year from how my year of Louisa May went, like if you did get to a point you're like, I just can't do any more this year, it's like no hard feelings if, you feel like you just don't want to read any more in a row. All righty. Well, thank you, ladies, and thank you everyone for watching. And we'll be back for another discussion next month.
Yay.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Kate.
Bye.